James Lynch here for MMA News with the man behind American Top Team, Mr. Dan Lambert, who I understand is on the road right now. He just picked up a new puppy. Dan, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? The kid new to the new dog.
Yes. What type of dog is it? I got to ask.
Australian Terrier.
Okay.
Got her own house. She just needs a ride every now and then. They're
right.
easy
Have you picked out a name yet?
Otis.
Otis. Okay. I like it. You've been really busy lately. I've been, interviewing a lot of the fighters from American Top Team. I know this COVID thing is still, happening in Florida. I know you guys have been really good about the testing and making sure everyone's gone through. How challenging has that been, just trying to keep track of everyone at the gym and trying to make sure everyone's getting tested?
I mean, you do everything you can do. I think we've gone above and beyond, what we can do. I've had labs out to the gym 3 different times, testing everybody in the gym. We've changed out our mats. We've had the whole place sanitized. We have temperature checks. We're like Nazi Gestapo on top of people if they have symptoms, not letting them back in the gym. The CDC says 10 days from symptoms. We make them wait 14 days and get another test before they can come back to the gym. But even with that, we've had our share of positives, several of which have been false positives. We've had guys pulled from shows, had to hop in cars from Las Vegas and drive back 40 hours. And when they came back, it turns out it was a false positive. We've had 3 people at our gym test positive when we had the whole group test. They all got tested the next day, and the day after that, they were all negative. It's just one of those things. I mean, you do what you can, you hope for the best, but you prepare for the worst. And some people say eventually everybody's going to get it. So it kind of is what it is. We'll still be diligent. We'll still do what we can, but, gym staying open to the pro fighters, they got a job to do and they got to feed their families. So it is what it is.
No, and you've been doing a great job. I mean, I don't think people realize how many people actually train at that gym. So for you to, go through the logistics of that, that's pretty crazy what you've been embarking on over the last couple months. But I wanted to get you on here as well because we have a fight that you and I have been talking about for, it seems like a long time. This Tyron Woodley and Colby Covington fight is finally taking place next Saturday. Were you surprised to see this happen? Only because it seemed like this was the one fight that was never going to happen for whatever reason. There was plenty of opportunities in the past, and now it's finally come to fruition.
No, I wasn't surprised to see it happen. I was just surprised it took so long to make it happen.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's lost a bit of luster with Colby coming off the loss and with Woodley coming off 2 losses now? Or are you still as excited? I know you weren't a huge fan of it because you know both guys, but what was sort of your interest in this fight next Saturday?
I've never been a fan of the fight. I don't like it when guys I'm close to or guys I like or guys who fight for us, who have fought for us in the past that I'm close with. I don't like it when they fight. Normal fights, you got at least a 50% chance in your mind that you're going to walk away happy. When you got 2 guys fighting each other that you're close with, you got a 100% chance of walking away upset because losses seem to mean a lot more in this business than they do in other sports. It's not like you lose a game on Sunday, and you give the team a pep talk, you show back up the following Sunday, and, best team in the league loses 5 games a year. MMA is a little less forgiving when it comes to that. So I'm not really looking forward to it. I'm surprised it took this long to happen. And, has it lost some of the luster? Yeah, absolutely. It's lost some of the luster. This would have been one of the bigger fights of the year, if not several years, if they had done it back when the timing was right. And I think the UFC made a mistake, on that one. They don't make a lot of promotional mistakes. Those guys know what they're doing, but I think they missed the bus on that one when they rushed Till into his title fight.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. But you do, like myself, you like sort of the pro wrestling sort of storylines that we do see in MMA. And one of the interesting things about this fight is that Masvidal is actually helping Woodley train for this fight. I don't know if you have any insight to that, like who decided to work with who, but what do you think of that? Because that does add a little bit more, because obviously Masvidal, Colby, very good friends, not so much anymore.
I don't know if T Wood reached out to Masvidal, if Masvidal reached out to T Wood. Knowing the guys the way I know him was probably George reaching out to take a shot. I don't know how much George mimics Colby's game, but George is a hell of a fighter and a really smart guy that really understands fighting. So having that guy come out and help you, I don't care who you're going to fight, it's going to be a help.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Now, I sort of the last I heard with you and Colby is that you don't really talk much anymore. Is that accurate? When was the last time you did speak to him?
Yeah, I mean, Colby's not at our gym anymore. He's doing his own thing. He's got Team Colby going on. He's doing some training over at MMA Masters, and they got some really good guys over there and some really good coaches. Guys that used to be part of our team at one time. Daniel Valverde, who's just an amazing jiu-jitsu practitioner. Fucking guy kicked my ass 1,000 times. And he's got a good team, so he doesn't need us. He's doing his own thing, and I still consider Colby a friend. I like Colby. and I like T-Wood a lot. Obviously, I got a long relationship with him too. So, I'll watch the fight. I'm not going to sit there and try to play sides or cheer, and I'm probably going to be happy for somebody getting a win and feel bad for the other guy getting a loss.
Yeah, it's sort of bittersweet as far as the matchup goes. I was going to ask you about MMA Masters because Colby, I don't know if you've noticed, has not done much media leading into this fight. Even me, who I usually interview him before every fight, he's gone radio silent on not just me, but a lot of the other outlets too. But I did think it was MMA Masters he was training at because I did notice on Instagram he's following that account. So from what you're hearing, he is over there because I imagine the options are kind of limited. He's not training at Sanford MMA where Usman is or Usman used to be or Gilbert Burns, right?
No, he's over there, and Caesar's a good striking coach. It's been in the game a long time, and Valverde's as good a sub guy as you're ever going to find on this planet. So he's getting good training, and they got good training partners over there, and I'm sure he's doing what he needs to do to get ready.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And just to clarify as well, as far as I know, you're not doing any sort of management for Colby anymore, because I know back when we last talked, I think it was you and Balangui. Now he's with VaynerMedia, which is obviously moved over from Balangui. It sounds like they're handling all that, right, going forward?
Yeah, I have nothing to do with any of that.
Gotcha. All right, well, let's move along. I did mention Jorge Masvidal. It looks like he's going to be rematching Nate Diaz. I know nothing's signed. They're sort of working on it. Is that the fight to make? I mean, it's an interesting fight from a name value perspective, but I think to most fans, that aren't Diaz fans, they kind of felt like that was sort of a one-sided fight. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, a lot of people thought Nate got, robbed of his chance to come back in the later rounds of that fight. I didn't see it that way. I thought George got robbed of his chance to finish the fight. And George obviously wants a rematch with Usman first and foremost is really the only thing George wants. But if the UFC isn't willing to put that together again, what else makes sense for Masvidal if the guy's last name isn't Diaz or McGregor? I mean, I don't know of any other fight that makes sense for George other than a title fight. So if the title fight isn't available and they want George to fight and not sit on the sidelines and watch, tell me somebody else who makes more sense.
Yeah, no, it's a huge fight, and that was always an option going forward with the way that first fight ended. Have you seen Masvidal in the gym? Like, because I know he's helping Woodley, obviously, but I'm sure if that fight does happen, he's probably getting ready for something like that, because we're hearing rumors. That's sort of what I'm basing it off of. George
was back from St. Louis. He was in the gym yesterday.
Okay, there you go. Heard it from the source. Dustin Poirier, is he back in the gym now? I know there's talks of him fighting Tony Ferguson, but like the Masvidal fight, nothing's signed yet.
Dustin is back. He's in the gym training now, yes.
Okay, that's good. And it kind of looks like he's going to fight Ferguson. I mean, that would make sense if you sort of look at the rankings.
I know the UFC wants it. I know the fight makes a ton of sense. It makes a lot of sense to have it on that card. Now, but that date's coming up quickly. I mean, October 24th, that's next month. So I would imagine if it is going to happen, it's got to happen probably in the next couple of weeks, I would think, something official. I mean, Dustin's been around a long time. He's not a guy who just wants to jump and take a fight in a week against an opponent that he hasn't had a full camp and gotten ready for. Dustin stays in shape. Dustin's a pro, but he's at a point in his life where, he wants certain fights. He wants bigger fights. He wants to be paid for those fights, and he wants full camps, and he wants to be prepared for those fights. So I would imagine if that fight's going to happen, it's going to get announced pretty soon.
Some other names of your gym I wanted to ask you about. Joanna and Jedrzejczyk. She sort of put that Instagram post out. I'm sure you saw that, where she kind of hinted like she was retiring. I don't think anyone took that seriously, but it sounds like she's coming back. What's the latest on her? I don't believe she's at the gym right now, is she?
No, she's back in Poland, keeping really, really busy. She's over there pretty big, and she's got lots of stuff to keep her occupied. There's some travel restrictions and reasons she hasn't come back. She wants to get back. She wants to get back to training, but she also wants to have a fight to come back for. And at this point in her career, especially after that last fight, I don't think a lot makes sense for her other, than a rematch with the champ. And it looks like they're going in the direction of putting Rose in the next shot. So if I had to guess, I think Joanna's going to sit back and wait for the dust to clear there and wait for a call back asking if she wants to fight for the title again. I don't think there's anything else in that division that interests her.
And then also at your gym, Amanda Nunes, who's got that fight against Megan Anderson in December, which is kind of an intriguing style matchup, although I think Nunes is going to be heavily favored in that one. I imagine she's back in the gym, or is she going to come in a little bit later? Because that's not till December.
Nina's getting ready to pop any day now.
Oh, right, yeah.
And they're about to have a kid. So she has not been in the gym. She's waiting for the kid. She's waiting to make sure everything's fine and smooth. And I would imagine shortly thereafter, she'll get that itch back and want to get back in and start getting ready for that fight. Sure, she'll be a big favorite, but, goats can't just sit around because they're goats. They need to stay on the top of their game and stay sharp. And I'm sure she'll want to be in the gym, especially with a crying kid bothering her every second of every day. So I expect her back in the gym after the kid's born and getting ready for that fight.
We had Jairzinho Rozenstruik get that win over Junior Dos Santos. I know that's happened before, but is it tough when you have teammates fighting each other? I know it's a big gym, but I asked Jairzinho, like, is it difficult? Is there anyone who had to stay out of it? I guess he sort of said he just worked with the guys he's used to. How do you handle a situation like that?
It's different every time. It depends on who it is, but it sucks. There's no upside to it. Someone's gonna lose, and losses in this sport sting a lot, especially when they're top 10 guys, both, looking to make a claim for a title shot. So, we try to identify coaches and training partners, keep them separate, keep the guys on different schedules, different times. Different guys react to it differently. I mean, when the fight came up, JDS was like, "Hey, let's train together. Let's spar." Just a happy-go-lucky, friendly dude. And, other people we've had, people leave the gym following fights with teammates because, they either didn't like the way we handled it or maybe they didn't deal with it well or whatnot. So it's different every time, other than the fact the only consistent is it kind of sucks every time it happens.
Yeah. No, it's interesting there. Another name I wanted to throw at you, Thiago Santos. He's got that fight coming up. It was supposed to be this weekend. Now it's been moved to October 3rd. It doesn't look like he's been training an American Top Team, or has he? I was trying to follow along on social media.
Yeah, he's been here about a month.
Oh, has he? Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure.
He was in Brazil trying to get his paperwork and get everything cleared, and he's been here about a month, and he's in pretty good shape. He's training every day. The extra time will probably do him good, get him a little more time in the gym to get ready. That's gonna be a tough fight against another guy who spent a ton of time at our gym in the past, and it's always going to be ATT in my mind, Glover.
Another ATT guy, and we'll end things here and then switch over to some other stuff. Pedro Munhoz, really tough fight against Frankie Edgar. I think a lot of people felt that could have gone either way. How's he doing? Because I know, unfortunately, came up a little bit short on the scorecards against Edgar.
I talked to him yesterday. He's still pissed off. He thinks he won that fight. I mean, fuck. I think he won that fight. I was sitting there cage side watching it. I thought he won that fight. I thought it was a really good fight, but I didn't think it was a particularly hard fight to score. I looked at the media scores. I think out of the 20 or so media sites that covered it, I think 17 out of 20 had it for him, and 7 of the 17 had it 4 rounds to 1. I thought it was a really good fight, and Frankie's a legend and a Hall of Famer, but I thought Pedro won the fight. Pedro thought he won the fight, so he's not happy about it. But he's just going to get in there and fight whoever's in front of him and try to take it out on that guy.
Do you know if he'll be working with Marlon Moraes? Because I know he couldn't work with him in the Edgar fight because of their friendship. But, Marlon's got his fight coming up, and I know they had trained together leading up before that.
Pedro would get in there with Jairzinho and help Jairzinho.
Yes, he would. He's a very nice guy, yeah.
For his next fight. Pedro is an animal. And he'd be happy to help anybody in the gym that needs it.
Let's talk some pro wrestling. Always have to do it. Mandatory in these interviews. What's up with this WWE third-party thing, where they're getting mad at the fighters for doing their own stuff on platforms? Did you see this? What's your reaction to that?
I did. It's weird. I look at AEW, no matter what they do, I kind of give them the benefit of the doubt and kind of like what they do just because I'm cheering for them so much. And it's like, it seems to the point with WWE, you get to the point where no matter what they do, you're like hypercritical of what they do just because they seem to, every time they have a path to like build you up and get you excited for something, they kind of, pull the carpet out from underneath you. So yeah, it rubs me the wrong way a little bit, but what do I know? It's almost gotten to the point with those guys where it's like, ho hum, whatever, they get this Roman Reigns heel turn, which seems to have a lot of heat from him. And I look at it, and instead of getting excited, I'm like, I wonder how they're going to ruin this, and shove it up all our butts, But who knows? I mean, I like what they're doing with the Hurt Business. It's nice to see Bobby Lashley getting a push. I like seeing him over, and I love just about everything AEW is doing.
Yeah, no, I know you've been a big fan. By the way, I think I mentioned this before, but people always tell me I look like John Moxley. I get that all the time. So what do you think?
Yeah, I can see that a little bit. I'd have to see you.
He's a good wrestler, so I'll take that. I think that's a compliment, if anything.
He's a great wrestler.
Yeah, no, absolutely outstanding. What are you enjoying? You sort of talked about it there in terms of what's going on in wrestling. You love AEW. Anything in WWE you're enjoying, or is it just mainly everything in AEW? Your team AEW, by the sounds of it.
I like the Hurt Business. Like I said, I like what they're doing with Bobby. I liked the Fiend. I thought that was a unique angle, and I'm such a mark for Bray Wyatt. It was nice to see him get that new push again. With Roman back, I could see that getting over if they do it the right way, and they have so far. It's just like I almost feel like they're teasing me, waiting to take it away from me. Though AEW, just about everything. I mean, I love Orange Cassidy. It's like I was in Vegas. I went to their pay-per-view in Chicago just before the pandemic, and one of the reporters for ESPN who covers MMA is also a wrestling fan. I saw him at the Colby Usman fight right after. He's like, "Hey, I saw you at the pay-per-view," and I'm like, "Man, it was great." And I started telling him how much I loved Orange Cassidy, and he opened up his jacket and he's wearing an Orange Cassidy t-shirt. So, I guess I'm not the only one. I'm a big fan of that. I'm a fan of the Young Bucks. I love Moxley, and Moxley's great. And the Omega and Adam Page thing, I like those guys a lot. I like the split. I didn't really like the one part where he just kind of came out of the blue and grabbed the Buck by the leg. It didn't make as much sense to me as some of the other things that they were slow building on the turn. But like I said, it's AEW. Even if I don't follow it or understand, I just think, well, maybe they must have something else in mind that I don't understand yet, because everything else they do is so great. So let me, instead of criticizing, let me just sit back and wait for the payoff. So their women's match the other day was great. Everything they do, I like.
And I always like doing these interviews, Dan. Really appreciate the time. I know you got a bit of a drive to head back home. Anyone you want to thank, anything you want to plug, I always give you the last word here.
Nope. Just anytime you see anybody fight for AT&T, root for them.